Garth Brooks may have friends in low places, but Leonardo DiCaprio has a friend named Lo who bought him Marlon Brando's Oscar with embezzled money. So there's that. Now let's get to the rest of Leo's shady behavior before he sics his posse on us. Since the 90s, Leo has been part of a fun little club with a few fellow actors and members of the entertainment industry. We'd love to tell you the name of this particular group, but to be honest, there's no way it'd get past the censors without getting bleeped. As a workaround, whenever you hear the bleep, just think of a certain word related to cat. You'll know what it is. Anyway, this is all to say that DiCaprio once headed up the self-described Posse, a group whose name and very existence wouldn't exactly fly today in these post-Me Too times. Thanks to his launch into official heartthrob status with Titanic, Leo served as the de facto leader for the other members, including Tobey Maguire, Lucas Haas, Kevin Connolly, David Blaine, and Harmony Korine.
I think people were very
excited. To the tabloids,
excited.
your hotel room was a revolving door for every, hot young thing in town.
Wow, you can't believe what you read.
If the antics of the Posse pique your interest, you might want to check out the underseen and semi-improvised film Don's Plum. The only trouble is that neither DiCaprio or Maguire want you to see it. Filmed before the leads shot to fame, Don's Plum starred Posse members DiCaprio, Maguire, and Connolly, and apparently revealed so much of their misogynistic Posse behavior that both DiCaprio and Maguire actively fought to prevent the film's release. The actors ended up settling for $10 million in an agreement which allowed for a limited release of the film, but only outside North America and with certain scenes removed. Apparently, what happens in the Posse stays in the Posse.
Bro, you need to send her back to sea, bro. That chick is fat.
Okay, fine. He was in an allegedly rowdy Hollywood group of hot young actors in his 20s. Who among us can't say the same? We all do dumb things before our brains mature, but then it's time to grow up and settle down, and Leo did just that. Well, not really, but he did get older. It's just that the women he dated didn't.
I get older, they stay the same age.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
DiCaprio developed an unsavory reputation for dating actors and models up to the age of 25 before moving on to a newer, sometimes literal model. Leo's alleged disdain for dating anyone over a quarter century of age has been derisively referred to as Leo's Law. There was even a viral graph on Reddit that charts his history of dating women who could have still been on their parents' health insurance plan while they were with the one-time king of the world. Of course, Leo's Law is simply an internet joke and has no basis in reality. In fact, as of this video, he's currently dating someone closer to his age in Vittoria Chiretti, who, as of August 2025, happens to be, well, let's check our notes, 27. Who says you can't be a climate change advocate and have a little fun while you're doing it? That's what DiCaprio would like to know. Leo has been criticized for being a hypocrite due to his love of speaking out for the environment and then turning around to hop on a private jet to gallivant about the world. Despite narrating and co-producing multiple documentaries about climate change, DiCaprio's frequent use of private jets, which pollute much more than a standard commercial airline flight, initially came under fire in 2016 when he took a private jet from Cannes to New York in order to receive an environmental award from clean water advocate Riverkeeper. He flew back to Cannes within 24 hours and the next day took another private jet to travel less than 8 miles, attending a gala in Antibes. But in his defense, DiCaprio does more than just pollute the skies. He does it to the sea as well, partying year-round on environmentally ruinous super yachts. And the cherry on top of the "it sure seems like this guy doesn't actually care about the environment" Sunday? According to the Toronto Sun, he once literally took a helicopter from his yacht to dine and wine at a restaurant. Stars. They're just like us. At this point, you might be thinking, but what about the Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation? It was set up in 1998 for a variety of conservation efforts. To that we say, good on you for knowing things, but there's more than meets the eye when it comes to Leo's foundation. In 2008, it joined the California Community Foundation as a donor-advised fund, or DAF, which allowed the foundation to avoid transparency, making it practically impossible to glean its actual finances. According to the IRS, donor-advised funds can be used for both questionable charitable deductions and impermissible economic benefits to donors. All this has gotten the foundation and DiCaprio himself in hot water with the government. In 2016, the foundation raked in a whopping $45 million in donations during just one gala on July 20th, where DiCaprio mingled with oligarchs and uber-rich A-listers. That same day, the Department of Justice filed a complaint investigating a massive embezzlement case, which involved the LDF and DiCaprio, who was named as Hollywood Actor 1, but not charged. The DOJ alleges that DiCaprio's foundation was used to embezzle millions of dollars from a Malaysian sovereign wealth fund actually intended for oil exploration, all as part of what the FBI called the largest kleptocracy scheme to date. The man behind the scheme, known as the 1MDB scandal, just so happened to be Hollywood actor one's good friend, Joe Low. He may have been the supposed mastermind behind the alleged embezzlement scheme, but Joe Low also knew how to throw a party, namely spend a crap ton of money on it. Billion Dollar Whale, a book about the current fugitive from justice, alleges that Lowe spent $85 million on parties between October 2009 and June 2010 alone. Siphoning hundreds of millions of dollars from the Malaysian state, Lowe paid DiCaprio a $250,000 fee to join him at a few shindigs, according to ongoing federal investigations. Beginning in November 2009, as reported by The Hollywood Reporter, DiCaprio was paid to party internationally with Lowe, including an $11 million gambling bender in Vegas. Lowe and his associates also supposedly gifted DiCaprio a $9.2 million Basquiat painting, a $3.2 million Picasso, and Marlon Brando's Academy Award for On the Waterfront, which was purchased for $600,000. DiCaprio eventually had to surrender these items to the government, which surely must have sent the actor sobbing into the arms of whatever young supermodel was within the vicinity. And happy days if you're a fan of irony, as Lowe contributed millions of likely embezzled dollars to help finance DiCaprio's film The Wolf of Wall Street. You know, the movie about an infamous embezzler. It turns out that Mr. Lowe isn't Leo's only shady friend. Several of his scandalized collaborators were involved in Red Granite Pictures, which helped produce The Wolf of Wall Street, and later paid $60 million to settle an investigation into its involvement with Lowe. They include producers Joey McFarland, who had to forfeit $14 million in profits and gifts to the government, and Riza Aziz, who had to forfeit $107 million. But maybe it was all worth it to have their names shouted out alongside Joe Lowe by Leo during his Golden Globes acceptance speech in 2014. If you think we're done talking about DiCaprio's criminal friends, you're as naive as someone young enough for Leo to date. Dana Giacchetto told The Hollywood Reporter in 2014 that Leo was, quote, like my little brother, and this was after the shady figure had been sentenced to 57 months in 2000 for fraud and reportedly losing money for his clients, which included DiCaprio. Before that, though, DiCaprio was deep with Giacchetto, even living in his Soho loft in the late 90s. DiCaprio skipped the 1998 Oscars, you know, the one where Titanic won everything, to instead party with Giacchetto. And before you even ask, of course Giacchetto was a member of the Posse, along with art dealer Heli Namad, who also ended up spending time in prison. Namad was accused of being part of a multi-million-dollar money laundering scheme involving high-stakes poker games attended by DiCaprio and others. His 2014 plea deal led to Namad paying more than $6.4 million and receiving 3 years of probation after his prison sentence. However, Namad was later pardoned by Donald Trump at the end of his first administration, which of course he was, especially when you find out that Namad also happens to own the 51st floor of Trump Tower in New York. Nonetheless, DiCaprio continued to party with his friend. According to the Daily Mail, he was seen boarding a private jet with him in 2023, probably to get to a coffee shop down the street. At this point in the video, is it even all that shocking when we tell you that Leo was friends with Diddy? While the media was focusing on the fallen rap star's sex trafficking and racketeering trial, older photographs resurfaced that revealed DiCaprio laughing and smoking with Diddy during one of his so-called white parties, held annually from 1998 to 2009.
Who's the person that's number one on that invitation list?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
The actor's name also came up in text messages that were part of the court proceedings, being mentioned by Diddy's ex-assistant regarding a high-stakes poker game. Now, does this mean that Leo ever attended any of Diddy's alleged freak-offs? No, but with his reputation and being that close in Diddy's orbit, it's more than enough to raise eyebrows in this day and age. These days, it seems that DiCaprio is at least aware of the public's shifting viewpoint on him, but no matter how far he pulls his designer baseball caps down, he can't hide while he's out gallivanting with the elites of the world. Despite actively trying to avoid recognition, Leo was berated for attending the lavish wedding of Lauren Sanchez and Jeff Bezos. DiCaprio was one of many celebrity guests at the 3-day wedding, which reportedly cost around $20 million, which for anyone keeping track at home is 0.0083% of Bezos' net worth. Amazon is one of the world's biggest polluters, with its production of 16.2 million metric tons of carbon dioxide each year. So it seems that a self-proclaimed environmentalist like DiCaprio would have a problem with the man who created the company, especially after telling Deadline in 2022, I've had two great passions in my life. That has been acting and the protection of the natural world and getting the message out about the climate crisis. The powers that be, the private sector, governments, are not making the transition fast enough. Apparently, DiCaprio either exempts Bezos from the powers that be or thinks that the climate can at least hold out until he gets his hands on a bunch of fancy wedding finger food. Apparently, for the last few years, both of Leo's passions of acting and the environment have taken a back seat to his desire to hang out on yachts and zip around on private jets. As of this video, the actor has only appeared in 3 films since 2016, which could be part of the cause of the increased hate thrown at him. The man may hang out with a bad crowd and be dripping in hypocrisy, but you have to admit that a lot of his movies are pretty good, so people would at least pause the online vitriol for a few hours at least if he threw out another quality flick. But part of the problem is that when he does get around to actually acting, he demands a ton of money to partake in one of his so-called passions, usually requiring between $20 and $30 million for lead performances.
I love money! I love money!
Small roles are apparently a no-go as well, as the actor has been in pay disputes over his small appearance in the proposed sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, turning down $3 million for just one day of filming. The yet-to-be-released One Battle After Another has Leo teaming up with acclaimed filmmaker Paul Thomas Anderson, so it remains to be seen if that will sway public discourse in any way. But if not, he's always able to cry on the shoulders of his posse.